March 28th, 9 o'clock to order. The invocation by Reverend Jason Sharp and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Bill Pickens. If you'd please stand.
Mr. Chairman, before we begin, I received notice from Mr. Leary that he will not be in this morning. Deputy County Administrator will be sitting in his place.
Thank you. Is Mr. Sharp in the audience? Commissioner Goddard, would you lead us in prayer?
I will. Lord, thank you for this time that we get to share together. Help us to make good decisions, Lord. Help us to do the right things. Be with us as we make these tough decisions that we have to. And Lord, we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join together in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Commissioners, before you, approval of the minutes for the March 9th, 2017, and special meeting, and March 14th, 2017 regular meeting. The chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
We have a proper motion by Commissioner Lible.
I'll second it.
Proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Next item on our agenda, I do want to mention that I have received word today that can you hear me now? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Everybody hear me? All right? Okay. I did receive word that Commissioner Stillwell is doing better and starting to feel much better. So continue praying for him, please. Mr. Crowley, will you join me at the podium, please? And commissioners, would you join me also?
All of you?
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Can I borrow your microphone?
You may.
Okay, good. Commissioners, if you know, Mr. Crowley is retiring from our service in Putnam County, and this is a plaque presented to you, Stephen J. Crowley, for over 28 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Putnam County, March 31st, 2017. Thank you for your service, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Here you go, sir.
Oh, cool.
Mr. Crowley, if you'd like to say a few words, please.
Oh.
You got to leave us on a good.
I get the podium twice today. This is just really exciting. I am very rarely lost at words for those of you that know me, but thank you very much. And I just want to thank all of the folks in Putnam County for the opportunity to have served the residents of Putnam County for the past 28 years. If you look back when I came here and we're in the Larimer and started building the headquarters library, people said nobody will ever come out there and use that building. It's way too far. I'm not going to drive across that bridge and go all the way out there. We don't need libraries in Putnam County anyway. I guess the implication was we don't read in Putnam County. But they did. When we opened those doors, we almost tripled the number of people using the library system, and that has increased over the years. And it's to the thoughtful vision of all of the commissions that have served over the years to support reading libraries in Putnam County. And I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it with a long string of very supportive county administrators who also valued the library. I remember one had to go back to New Zealand, and his very first email was sent from a library in New Zealand. And so they've believed in the value of libraries, particularly to rural counties like Putnam. And it's just been a joy. It's been a pleasure. future, but it's time to ride the train off into the sunset and do other things. And I just appreciate all that you all have done for the residents of Putnam County. Thank you.
You stay right there. We're not going to let you leave that quick. So Commissioner Lible?
Mr. Crawley, I just want to, from the bottom of our hearts, you've just been great in our library system. You have partnered us with bigger counties such as Alachua. We made our purchasing power go really far. Your insight was really keen, and we appreciate that. And I also appreciate what you did outside of your scope of your job, such as One Book, One Putnam. I think some folks are here today from that group, but Putnam does read, and it's because Steve Crawley made an effort, and we appreciate it. Can you introduce your interim, I think?
Yes, most of you probably already know Stella Brown, but Stella, stand up.
Hi, Stella.
Stella, hard to believe, but Stella has been with the library system even longer than I have. She began working for the Palatka Public Library when it was still run by the city, before you worked out this very strange deal for streetlights and bridge repair. The city got streetlights and bridge repair, and the county got the library system. And, you know, that was exciting, I guess. But Stella started out as a page and a clerk in the for the
She's worn
Palatka
every hat,
Library,
hasn't she?
and
I
she
know she
has.
has.
And over the years, you know, I should have thanked her before. She's one of those people who has kept me on the straight and narrow, too, and I appreciate that.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come up and speak? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your retirement, and we thank you for all you did
Thank
for
you.
Putnam County. Thank you. Okay. Next is Tom Deputy with the Emergency Services. Mr. Deputy, if you could meet me at the podium, please. Commissioners, if you could join. You're at the podium. Mr. Deputy, this is a plaque from the Putnam County, Florida, presented to Thomas J. Deputy for over 25 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Putnam County, March 29, 2017. And we thank you for your service, sir. Thank you. Okay, come around, guys. Whoop, might want to take that back out.
I gave me a white bag.
We're going to
Be
make
careful what you ask for.
I'm gonna need a couple copies.
You're usually the one taking
I
pictures.
know.
The microphone's all yours.
Do I have my back to them?
You can, why don't you, yeah.
They
why
can
don't
see you in the big screen.
This better? I can't turn my back on my men and my people.
There you go. Do it right
Is that
there.
okay with you guys?
That's fine.
I apologize.
This is your day.
Well, I just want to say thank you. The main thing that I want to say and appreciate is the men and women that I've worked with for 38 years in this community. Carl Flagg's been on the hose line with me many times. There's a bunch of you out there.
Mr. Chair.
But I want to thank, first, with my teammates. We were partners. We became a team. We're now family. I want to thank them. I want to thank my family because, as you know, in this business, it doesn't matter if it's a holiday, when it is, or whatever, you're on duty 60, 70, 98 hours a week. They kind of suffer a little bit. So I get to go home, and I'm planning on 35 years of good, hard photography and having a blast. And I know I'll see every one of you, my brothers out there and sisters. Thanks. It's been a pleasure doing this for you.
Mr. Deputy, stay right here for a moment.
We got to roast you a little bit.
We're not gonna let you off that quick, so now you gotta face us a little bit. Commissioner Lible, you have
This
the
is the
floor.
price you pay when you're a very popular paramedic. No, last Friday, I had a chance to go by Tom's work spot where we had at the EOC, where they were having an employee's recognition of his years of service. And I was so impressed with the stories I heard from your colleagues that day. I am not going to forget it soon. But they talked about days when they had station wagons and they worked out of funeral homes. And I don't know how many people know Greg Jungenberg. He is not a little man. But Tom and Greg saved a lot of lives in the back of those station wagons. And they say Tom was really quick and agile, I guess. You could go over the top of all the bodies working on a patient, and he could tubulate, and you could do all kind of things. They say Tom would come out of nowhere. And those were great stories, and thank you for inviting me. And thank you for your service to this county, Tom.
My pleasure. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Would anybody else like an opportunity to come and speak? Tom, do you have your family here with you today?
I do.
Why don't you bring them up?
Oh, my gosh, we don't have all day.
Well, just take a moment.
These are the
They're not
deputies.
ashamed of me. I know they love me.
I saw some smiling faces and, okay.
I'm from a family of 7 kids, and I think Tom also photographed all 7 of our weddings. We
right,
did. Over the years.
7 also, but introducing my wife Leela, Lindsay, Morris, Justin Morris, my son-in-law, my son Adam, and Megan, his wife.
Tom, why don't y'all come up here? Tom, y'all come up here. Well, come on back.
Doesn't have a wide angle lens. Smiles. One more. Very good. It won't, he doesn't.
Take pictures, Tom.
When you need me,
Thank you, Tom.
911.
Mr. Nelson Green, if you'll meet me and the board too at the podium, please, sir.
Nelson?
Good morning. Good morning. All right, Mr. Green, a plaque from Putnam County, Florida, presented to Nelson Green for over 8 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Putnam County, and this is actually predated April 3rd, so you're going to be here for just a few more days.
A few more days, yes, sir.
But we thank you very much for your service and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There you go, sir. I mean, smile. Thank you. The microphone's yours. You got to do this.
I'm normally the quiet type. Just thank you to the people that I worked with, the people that have put up with me for the last 8 years. Thanks to the board for the opportunities that they have given me to serve the citizens of Putnam County. Thank y'all.
Thank you,
y'all.
sir. Thank you. All right, that takes care of our honorees today, and we appreciate that opportunity to do that. Now we're going to go into our citizens' comments. If there's an agenda item that you want to speak about, please fill out a blue card or just wait for that time. Right now I have Mr. Taylor. Do you want to speak on an agenda item, or do you just want to speak to us, sir?
I would be happy to speak directly.
Is it, okay, come on up, sir. You'll be first on the list. Now, if it's concerning an agenda item, we like to wait to that moment.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen the agenda.
Oh, okay, okay.
be considered one of the latter parts of the agenda.
Okay, we'll wait then, sir. Thank you. All right, Mr. Ray Rowick would like to come speak to us this morning. Mr. Ray, please come up.
Distinguished
Morning, sir.
commissioners, staff of the courthouse and the county, I appreciate your services. I come a second time in regards to a noise ordinance that I'm trying to get the animal control to enforce. And last time I was here, I spoke while I was playing a recording that I have to listen to 8 to 10 hours a day, and I can't get the noise enforced, so I'm just going to be quiet. This is what I listen to for 10 hours a day in my house. And I can't get animal control to enforce code 637, which says that a nuisance animal cannot disturb the neighborhood or neighbors in enjoying their property. So I hate music, but you can hear music in the background. I don't listen to music, but we try to drown out this shrill whistle from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night while the parrot's outside. So I'm going to turn this off because it irritates me more than it irritates you, trust me. The city went and talked to her. I live in Willaca. She immediately pulled the bird inside when they said that they would have to enforce the code. 4 days later, her son came and went and talked to the city and found out that they're not in the city limits in the county. So she immediately put the bird back outside. So I'm once again asking the county commissioners to please pass down to the responsible people to enforce. This code is no different than when I got chewed out because during the hurricane I changed a window because it got blown out, and I got chewed out for not coming first and getting a permit. And I don't think that code enforcement has the authority to pick and choose which codes they want to enforce. So in closing, I'm just saying, please have somebody enforce this code, or please do what you shouldn't do because your forefathers had the foresight to make sure that we can live in peace in our community. Abolish the code, one or the other.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mary Kay Enkelking, Bass Tournament.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mary Kay Engelking, Palaca, Florida. I'm going to be here every county commission meeting until the tournament's over. I am here representing the NEFAR, Northeast Florida Association of Realtors. Our bass tournament is coming up. Let me get my eyes on here. We have it on April the 29th. We're hoping we're going to have 200 votes this time. But I'm inviting everyone, please come out, have a great day. The sun will be shining, and we'll have about 200 people, and we have things that are for our children. We have activities all day long, and then around 2 o'clock, that's when the fish come in. Is that 2? That's when the anglers start coming in. We start doing weigh outs, and that's when we start yelling and screaming and having a great time. So it's on April the 29th. It's down by the city dock. So please come out, have a great time. Just forget all the worries that are out there and bring in the positive. And God love you, and have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, that's the end of the blue cards for just public comment outside of agenda item. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak to the board this morning? If so, come up and give your name and address for the record. And, all right, seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. Commissioners, do you have any items to pull, Mr. Lible?
I have none today.
Commissioner Goddard?
I have none.
Mr. Pickens, Commissioner Pickens?
None.
Okay, I would like to pull item B, D, and E, if you don't mind. And then we will entertain a motion to approve all of these.
So moved.
Okay. We have a proper motion by Commissioner Lible to approve items A and C.
I'll second.
We have a proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item B, this is page 20 in your packet. Angie, are you here? Thank you for coming. Okay, if you will come up and explain this good thing that's happening right here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is round 2 of a previous derelict vessel grant that you approved last month, I believe it was.
Right.
These are just additional funds that are there, and there is one vessel that will be removed with these funds.
Okay.
It is on the east side of the river in the proximity of Corky Bells. Now, this is a larger vessel. This is, I believe, 50 foot long, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 feet wide. So even though it's only one vessel, it probably looks like it's a little bit disproportionate to the other grant. It's because of the size and the requirements. Once it's removed, there has to have trail vehicles with this. So there'll be a vehicle in front of the boat, and there'll be a vehicle behind the boat as well.
Well, good. And you know what I really noticed here is it's a $20,000, $20,800 item, and the county's portion is $5,100.
Correct.
That. So that's about a 25% match that
Correct.
the county's going to do, and the state's going to pick up the rest. We like those numbers. and
Yes.
we thank you for that. Commissioners, any comments? Commissioner Lible?
Yes, this particular vessel has a background. It is owned by a bank. And if we can go after our portion of the money, I'm not happy with the numbers. I want our money back because they should have taken charge of this boat. This is the second time it has gone to the bottom, and it's been about an 8, maybe 10-year span that residents along that shoreline have been wrestling with this entity, and they just ignore us. And so I want to get with you this week and I've got all the contact information on who's responsible for that vessel.
Very good.
Very good comment. Mr. Attorney, would you like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly, I can join in that meeting, and we can look at what our options are as far as going after the owner of the vessel for reimbursement. I don't see why that would be a problem.
Commissioner Lible, thank you so much for bringing that. Commissioner Goddard, do you have a question?
No, sir.
Commissioner? Okay. All right. Thank you, Angie. Appreciate it very much. Item D, this is page 33 of your packet. Mr. Tompkins, if you could make your way to the podium, please. Got some questions here. Recently, we went through the audit, and we had decided that we were going to document why we were coming outside of our competitive bid solicitation. Do we have the reason for that in this packet today?
Well, yes, sir, we do. I
Okay.
mean, this was, the Great Southern Equipment is the only equipment manufacturer in Northeast Florida that carries the Great All brand.
Okay.
And that's a very unique piece of equipment. There's not a real replacement for it. We have an older 2005 machine that's outlived its usefulness. We are getting some value out of it now for a trade-in. So we're trading in a used machine. We're getting a 2010 machine, which is a better machine than what we have. We're getting insurance money from a machine that was wrecked by the towing company when it was taken in for service. So we're getting the value of that. And I was able to move some other monies around, so we're not asking for any additional money. So at all said and done, we're getting a good piece of equipment for only $20,000 out of our money that we already had appropriated for our fund. So it's it's one of those things that certain pieces of equipment you only buy from certain deals, just like Caterpillar equipment, we have to deal with Ring Power. There's nobody else we can buy Caterpillar equipment from in Northeast Florida. So we're kind of have to hold to that.
All right, and I also see that when you mentioned we're going to get an insurance settlement, we turn this over to our own insurance company, and we're subrogating. Is that correct, with the other company trying to get our money back?
Yes, sir, Art and Stacy, you may help me, but our insurance company is going to go ahead and pay us. They're then going to sue the insurance company of the towing company, and there's a possibility we may get a few more $1,000s out of it. But this was the best way to expedite it because we could be tied up with the other insurance company for a year or longer. So we were trying to get it expedited through our insurance company.
And having 3 grade-alls back out in the field is very important to our drainage.
Absolutely. That is our backbone of our whole system. Each zone, we have 3 work zones in the county, and each work zone has a grade-all. So this gives us 3 good, reliable machines that we can do the work we need to do.
Okay, thank you. Stacy, do you have a comment on that?
It's just a good, unique opportunity to leverage insurance proceeds, the amount of which we're sure. It may be more, but what he presented is the amount we're sure of.
Right.
To go ahead and get machines back on the road.
Good deal. Commissioners, any comment?
No, yes, I do have one. They really gave you $45,000 for that Minzy muck?
Well, the Minzy muck and the other grade-all that we were trading in. They actually gave us $10,000 for the Minzy muck.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we have to give you a raise or move you to a car lot. That was a pretty good deal.
Well, thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thompson.
Commissioner
Good-
Perkins has
What's the life expectancy of a machine like that?
We try to get 10 to 12 years out of them. It depends upon the hours, but what we have to look at is if you run a machine too long, if you just work it to death and then you get to the end of it, it has no value. And what we're trying to do now is get our machines so we can trade and at least have some residual value when we trade them in on new equipment. I was really shocked at the price we got from the insurance company on the one that was wrecked. That was I think a 2001 machine. So, it's 15 years old and it had, I think, well over 10,000 hours on it. So, that's what we need to look at is the hours we have on our equipment, the usage of it, and the residual value of it, so we can get some value out of it, not just work it down to nothing.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item, Commissioners, item E, page 35 to 51. Press, you might want to stay there again.
Yes,
if you don't mind. Explain this to the Commissioners and to the audience, please.
Well, we have an opportunity. The roads in the state forest are owned by the state. We have entered into a contract for a few years now with a contractor to grade these roads in the state forest. We allocate between $50,000 and $60,000 a year for this operation. Recently, with Holloway Road and some other things have come up, we've had quite a few meetings with the Forestry Service. And they had mentioned to us or said to us, why are you guys grading roads in the forest? We certainly will do it. And the terms of our contract said within a 30-day notice, the Forest Service would go back to grading these roads. So that's what we brought it to the Transportation Committee, and it was a consensus was to bring it to the board to turn these particular roads back to the Forest Service for them to maintain, not us. We're going to maintain 62 and 29, which is what we call the Fort Gates Ferry Road, because we have a DOT SCOP grant to improve that road. So we're turning over all the other roads in the forestry other than those two, which we will maintain those two. We've already talked to the contractor about piggybacking off of the state contract they have, because they grade about 200 or 300 miles of forest roads for the service. So we'll get their price break on that. We'll maintain just 2 roads in the county in the Forest Service and turn the other ones back to the Forestry Service.
Okay. Commissioner Goddard, this is in your area. So do you have any questions?
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Are you happy with this item?
I'm very happy with it.
Okay. Any other commissioners? There has been a concern about using this resolution situation And Stacy, would you like to go down that road or talk about that?
Well, it's not particularly a concern. It's just normally with this, we don't do a resolution for this type of action. Well, it's not necessary. It's not saying it can't be done, but typically something like this, you would merely request the chair's authorization to enter into or modify the cooperative agreement with the Forest Service and then enter into the piggyback contract with Orange Springs. So the resolution's not necessary.
So we can do it today, but going into the future, we probably don't need to be doing that.
Right.
Okay. All right.
We
good.
were just trying to be transparent and let everybody
got
know
you.
what was
We
happening.
thank you. Okay, commissioners, you have any other questions? No. You have item B, D, and E.
Thank you,
What's
sir.
your pleasure?
Move approval.
We have a proper motion by Commissioner Lible,
I'll second.
a proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Item 6, Mr. Steve Crowley.
I thought he retired.
Yeah, I thought you retired too. Okay.
So you're stuck with me for just a tad bit longer. And quite frankly, this isn't my moment. All of you, I believe, know Rosemary Anderson. Rosemary is one of the 2 representatives from Putnam County on the PAL governing board. PAL is the Putnam Alachua Levy Library Cooperative, and as Commissioner Lible alluded to earlier, it's a cooperative between Putnam County, Levy County, and Alachua County to bring additional funds and services to Putnam County through the State Aid to Libraries program. And so I give you Rosemary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Good
Good
morning.
morning, Ms. Rosemary.
It's nice to be here since we have good news to share with you about what has been accomplished in 2016 through the PAL Co-op. We are able to offer these advantages because we are a part of these. The co-op is a part of. I'm getting confused. Hold on a minute. Steve stole some of my introductory comments. So
Your time. Take your
anyway, the co-op has earned or is entitled to, has been granted through the State Library program, $350,000 a year. And so that's the source of the materials and the benefits that we're going to tell you about today. Generally speaking, and it has been our history, that the services are allocated on a third basis. And so that means in 2016, for example, we received a $60,000 allocation for books and materials over and above what our system ordinarily is qualified for. And this means that our users, and there are many, find a broader range of literature in whatever their area of interest is, fiction and nonfiction. And through PAL, if the book you want isn't available here, we can get it through other libraries, and it can be delivered to your home library at no charge to you. So one could almost argue that our resources extend statewide. Additionally, all right, readers have even more choices and options because we offer downloadable books and magazines. And downloadable books is just one of the online databases that we have achieved for our system through the PAL funds. Putnam citizens can access information on their ancestors through Ancestry.com. We're all familiar with that through the advertising dollars that we hear about it, and it is enjoyed by many of our people. Adults and students alike can use Learning Express to study for school, for job, career tests, accreditation tests, and or FCAT or whatever it's called this year. And BrainFuse is another of our online services that helps students prepare for their exams in the year. So in addition to the $60,000 for books and materials that I mentioned to you, PAL provides $38,000 of our online resources. Getting young children to read is a goal we all share. Reading is a skill and a basis for enjoyment, but most importantly, it is one of the key measures or skills that one can have for success in your education and in your life overall. Through PAL, we've been able to expand our summer programs that are designed to attract young children, show them where the library is, get them involved in reading and the fun that it can mean. And so PAL helps us fund the appeal or the hiring of people like Freddie the Gecko. What's the name? Tampa Tyco. Tampa Tyco, and other celebrities of that age group. And the programs, the children respond very well to those, and they're very intrigued. And so we feel that it's an important summer program, and that is the result of an added $3,000 that we got from PAL. PAL also provides other, and perhaps they're more subtle and behind-the-scenes benefits, training and workshops for our professional staff, membership and dues to library associations, of which we must be a part, and even funds this time to purchase a wide printer for posters and banners, which are so important in calling attention to library events and programs. In total, then, the dollar value of the benefits that PAL has brought to Putnam County this year is $99,000.
Wow.
Finally, PAL is now in its 7th year. We started in 2010, and in those 6+ years, the total of benefits and the funding that we've received from PAL for Putnam County Library Service is $562,000.
Wow.
And that's a wonderful number,
It
isn't it?
is.
Commissioners, we should thank
Yeah.
Mrs. Anderson for her service on this board at this moment, because that's a chunk of money.
That's right.
Thank you,
That's a
Rosemary.
chunk of money.
You're exactly right. Thank
Good job.
Finally, I mentioned that PAL is now in its 7th year. We didn't get here just by accident. You've already awarded Steve a recognition plaque today, but he was one of those who spotted the opportunity, the advantages we would get from organizing with 2 other counties in a co-op. And so we owe him additional thanks for his insight and work in making PAL happen. So thank you, Steve. I'd be happy to answer any questions or try to. And we do have a brochure which summarizes the material that we just reviewed with you.
Rosemary, again, thank you for enhancing our library service
sir.
through your service to this co-op.
pleasure.
And you really did bring home a substantial amount of money that helped us along our way. I was skeptical. Remember in the beginning, I said the big county will get all the money, but I was wrong. They share,
Have your doubts.
they share in the sandbox pretty good.
Honestly, the people are very cooperative because they share the vision of making library service bigger, better, and more available to all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Ms. Rosemary.
very
We
much.
appreciate it. Appreciate it. Okay, Commissioners, next, Dr. Robert Bernstein, Putnam Land Conservancy, Conserving Lands and Water for People and Wildlife. Mr. Bernstein, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning, and I'll try
Morning.
to keep presentation short. Let me get to the desktop. I have a PowerPoint, and I might introduce myself. I'm Bob Bernstein. I live on the river at 142 Elgin Road in East Palatka. I'm a marine scientist by training, and I have spoken to the board, some previous members about the river, that I like to see decisions that are science-based. And, wrong one. For example, in the river, you might think that water levels respond to rainfall. If it rains a lot, the river comes up. If it's dry, the river goes down. Well, that's actually not true. It responds to the ocean, and it's driven by the ocean, and it's therefore susceptible to sea level rise. Can I maybe get some help? I don't know how to get to back to the desktop.
He's on his way.
So likewise, today I want to talk about land conservation, and I might try to tell you that spending money on land conservation may actually save the county money. It sounds backwards. I'm okay now.
I think this needs to be rebooted again.
Oh, okay.
Just a second, sorry.
So while he's doing that, really what I want to talk to you today, as president of the Putnam Land Conservancy, I want to talk about what the Putnam Land Conservancy is and what we do, why we think we're important with the county and would like to work with the county, and that conserving lands is economically important. It's not just tree hugging kinds of values, it's economic values. And a question that I hope will come up, that my wife always brings up throughout my career is, so what? I always have to attribute a question to her. So after a presentation, and I think I'm going to try to keep it to 7 to 8 minutes, I'd like to approach what the county might do towards land acquisition, how the Putnam Land Conservancy might play a role in that and work with the county. And
Okay, all right, sorry. Computer failed again.
Okay, the Putnam Land Conservancy, you can't see the presentation either? Okay, rats.
We're good, go right ahead.
We're a nonprofit land trust, been in existence 10 years. Our mission is conserving land and water for people and wildlife, and we do that through various mechanisms. The Putnam Land Conservancy now has holdings in Putnam County of 628 parcels, totaling 776 acres. Obviously, a lot of those are small parcels, but we think the impact of that is much larger than the footprint of those properties, that it slows down sprawl. For some of those properties, the taxes are like $6 a year. It's not worth it to the county to keep the records, to send out the tax bills, to collect that money, to record that money. So we are targeting some subdivisions like Mondex, small parcels, undeveloped. They're referred to as antiquated subdivisions, and we've acquired several holdings in some of those areas. We also hold 2 conservation easements for a total of 160 acres. I'm sorry, 165 acres. And a conservation easement is attached to the deed of the property and says what you can and cannot do with the property. Mostly it's not developing most of it. And that goes with the deed, so the land is preserved forever, really. So in terms of open space economic values, and I wish I had the slide, some of you can assign values to various aspects of open space. And in broad categories, these might be beauty, production in terms of crops, ecosystem services, which are provided free, biological services, and social services. And you might think beauty, well, that's not economic value, but suppose there are 2 identical houses. one backs up to a noisy factory, one backs up to a parkland that has wildlife and a nice view. Which am I going to pay more money for? Which will I pay more taxes on? So I would be willing to pay a good bit more for being next to the open space park, and all the surrounding properties would. So you can equate that willingness to pay to the dollar value of that park or that beauty. And another example, the ecosystem services. Open land provides water recharge to the aquifer. It filters water runoff that might have to be treated in other ways, like retention ponds that would cost money. The open space provides those services for free. And maintaining these environmental amenities is essential to economic activity. In fact, from one study, environmental quality ranked as the most important amenity in high technology worker choices of location, above housing, cost of living, and good schools. Why do people come to Putnam County? Because of the natural resources in the open space here, and that needs to be preserved. And in terms of wildlife-related recreational participation and expenditures in Putnam County, we have about, not counting fairs and that kind of thing, we have about 74,000 visitors a year, equal to the population of Putnam County. The total economic value of these wildlife-related or the recreational visitors is about $87 million a year. That's in 2002 dollars. And there are also about 1,400 jobs associated with these recreational activities. Now, and I'd be glad to have you stop and ask questions at any point along the way here if I need to explain something without the graphics that I spend a lot of time on. But some might say that, well, preserving land and acquiring public land takes it off the tax rolls. And I'll give a big but. For commercial and open space land, yes, the taxes pay for the services. For residential property, for every dollar you collect in tax, it costs you more to provide services for that property. I'll give maybe an extreme example. A family buys a small lot on a dirt road, they put up a mobile home, and the family moves in, and the tax assessed value is $50,000. County needs to maintain the road, provide access for emergency services, police protection, schools, lots of other things. And what do you collect in taxes? Zero. So if development helped bring down costs, it'd be cheap to live in New York City. And I don't think that's true.
Dr. Verdenstein, there's a threshold, though, associated with housing values in that model you just presented. That dollar amount, it used to be around $300,000 before a home will realize a positive tax flow to the county.
An expensive home will pay proportionally higher taxes, yes. With a $50,000 exemption, as you go up in price, the county does gain money that way. So if you have expensive developments, the taxes can provide income to the county.
What you're saying is perfectly true, except at that threshold level, I know. Okay.
So a couple examples of studies, and these are from Alachua County. I don't have any from Putnam County, that people are willing to pay more for property located close to parks and open spaces. For example, in Gainesville, a study of one suburban park, it was 860 parcels that was looked at, that properties adjacent to the park, the taxable value went up by $26,000. In a study of all of Alachua County of 14,000 parcels, whether they were adjacent to open space or not, the properties that, this is for medium density parcels, the value of the parcels went up $26,000, essentially the same number when they were adjacent to public and open spaces. And I think, is this commission meeting with Alachua County Commission in a couple weeks?
It is. It's on April 17th.
And Ken Cordell, the chairman of the Alachua County Commission is actually the person that sent me some of this information. So if there are some questions about this or how the county interacts, I would encourage you to talk to Ken Cornell. And also from Alachua County, the increase in taxable value of money that is spent for open space lands usually repays itself. The example is, since 2002, Alachua County had spent a total of $61 million acquiring parklands. The taxable value went up by $65 million, 100% of what was paid. And actually, the county paid $28 million. The other was grant money. So for $28 million, they increased the taxable base $65 million. That's a big return. So in conclusion, preserving open space is not just nice, it's economically important and wise. And a strategy for conserving open space is not contrary to community economic health, but rather is an integral part of it. So my charge to the county and how Putnam Land Conservancy might play a role, the county needs to, I think, more actively promote and take advantage of the public's interest in outdoor-related activities and the economic value of natural resources and its rich heritage. Putnam County is really quite rich in natural resources, history, natural heritage, and the county would need to sell this approach to citizens. I think the county did an excellent job with a Better Place plan, that citizens actually voted to tax themselves more if the money was spent in this particular way. So I hope the county might let Putnam Land Conservancy know how we can work with the county to help preserve some of these special places. Some examples, maybe we hold conservation easements if a developer needs to set aside a piece of land in conservation. Maybe we work with the county to seek grant funding for purchases. We hold a small parcel of properties that actually saves the county money. And maybe we work with the county to help develop an open space plan. I did look at the 5-year strategic plan for the Putnam County Economic Development Council, a 34-page document. I looked through the whole document and I did a word search. This total strategies dealing with natural resources was 1. And that was identifying activities. I think the county's really missing out on some great economic benefits. I think you need to sell the county, and most of the people that come here to hike, bike, paddle really come from out of the county. So the county needs to be marketed out of county and really even out of state. I mean, there are things like bike trails, hiking trails, paddling trails, blueways, the river itself, Bartram Trail. I mean, there's developed the Bartram Trail. It's bike, hike, and paddle. It's a tremendous resource. It's a national heritage river. It ought to be like William and Clark Trail. I mean, it's really a big deal, and we don't market that. So I think a better job could be done on that, and maybe PLC could help with that. And I can be contacted. I don't have the slide. My email is seagrass3@gmail.com. And I'd be glad to work with the county in a workshop or to come back again or answer any questions you have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Commissioners, any comments? Commissioner
I do.
Lible.
Dr. Bernstein, I do work with you. And,
yes.
Something in the future I'd like to share with the public as well as you is you're right on target with the conservation easements in the way of linear trails, which Putnam County sure is a mecca of those trails coming together. a trailhead or a place where you eventually have to get over the river. But in the cities of Titusville and where the trails are more developed, people are moving to those trails, and the real estate abutting those trails, the little, I call it a township, Scottsmore by Titusville. The equestrian community in Central Florida is flocking to it. They're buying these 5-acre parcels so they can ride the trail. Before long, they'll be able to go from coast to coast. You can go from Titusville to St. Petersburg on a horse, which is just unheard of in the United States anymore. But these things are happening, and they do have value, and that's one bright spot that will happen for Putnam County in the future is our real estate values will realize a uptick around those trail hubs.
And will that be marketed by the county?
Well, that's something you and I need to talk about. But thank you for all you do. I enjoy working with you, and you are out there on the front doing a lot of good things for our county.
As Chip
We
knows, I
appreciate it.
serve on the Waterways Committee for the county also.
You sure do.
Thank you.
A lot of good work.
Commissioner Goddard, any comments? No comments. Okay. Thank you for your presentation, sir. We will move to item 8. Please do. Concerning this item? I'm sorry.
Where are we?
Go right ahead.
Conservation land in Putnam County is
State your name and address.
Rick Haven, 115 Dowda Circle, Crescent City, Florida. Conservation land in Putnam County is one thing I've done a lot of research on. I think Dr. Bostein's pulling a lot of figures out of his posterior.
Let's not do that.
Right now, the latest thing we got from Tim Parker that 31% of the land in Putnam County is off the tax rolls. My figures also represent another 22% is on conservation easement. That's 52% of the acreage in Putnam County that isn't taxed. Last year, when Carl Flagg was chairman of this board, he made several comments about the anemic tax structure in Putnam County. How can you continue to do this, taking land off the tax rolls for conservation? You don't have the funds to develop the parks for the people, the properties you've already bought. Why continue to have more conservation land? I'm sorry, it's a big mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Haven, for your comments.
I'd also like to point out to Mr. Haven's comments that what other county holds 9 national and state parks within their jurisdiction? There's a reason we're at 50%. And what Dr. Bernstein said earlier about housing values is very true. And until they reach a certain threshold, they do cost the taxpayers money to maintain. I'm sorry to differ with you, Mr. Haven, but that's the truth. I don't agree with you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, next item is Commissioner Carl Flagg, BOCC Legislative Responsibilities Protocol, Priorities, Policies, and Daily Operations. Mr. Flagg, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chairman Harvey, Mr. Vice Chairman Goddard, Commissioner Libo, Commissioner Pickens, and in absentia, Commissioner Stillwell, who we lift in prayer. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm deeply honored to have the opportunity and the privilege to come before you. Of course, you know I'm Carl Flagg, native and lifelong resident of Putnam County, currently residing at 1700 Oak Street, Palatka, Florida. Let me assure you that I'm here solely because of my passion for our community. Be assured I have no axes to grind and definitely no scores to settle. My prospective purpose today is to personally address you from my diplomatic experiences as a public servant who cares a lot about Putnam County. I truly want to believe, in spite of perceived differences and realized difficulties, the best interest of our county is in the hearts of all of us. I know what it means to be a freshman commissioner. I know what it means to be an intermediate commissioner, as well as a seasoned commissioner. I've had the pleasure of effectively serving as a Palatka City Commissioner for 5 years, Mayor of Palatka for 10 years, and also had the awesome privilege of serving as a Putnam County Commissioner for 4 years. It's been only 20 weeks ago since I served as a county commissioner, and in the wisdom of our fine Putnam County citizens, another fine citizen sought the office and succeeded me in District 3 by presenting himself as an option to the voters. I was among the first to reach out, congratulate, and pledge my support to him. For I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I humbly accept my reassignment because public servanthood and community service and commitment is my life story and my lifelong journey. It is equally my mission on earth. I will forever be indebted to God for inspiring me and my community, for entrusting me to be an honest public servant. As a local pastor for nearly 26 years and a local funeral services professional for nearly 34 years, I continuously serve our community in one manner or another, and I plan to continue humbly serving our community as long as God sustains me. However, my visit is really not about me, because Putnam County has operated exceptionally well before my tenure and will continue remarkably long afterwards. This is not my first time expressing concerns about how well we do what we do and how we do what we have to do. Therefore, I'm sure it's not the last. Nevertheless, I came not to condemn anyone, but rather to fulfill us. Many may wonder why I'm here. There are some who've already speculated. Many may wonder who sent me here. I'm delighted to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Nobody called me, and absolutely no one sent me. I'm here on my own personal conviction. I've always been a straight shooter, and those who know me, not know of me, recognize that I operate on three principles. I call them the HIS principle: honesty, integrity, and simplicity. Before I would even compromise, and before I would even consider compromising my Christian values and our community standards, I would immediately walk off the scene. I humbly served as an ambassador for Putnam County and earned the respect of many citizens. I'm just as concerned about our future as you are. But more importantly, I'm interested in our present portrayed image and true character. Truly excellent character must continue to count. It's not who they say we are, it's who we say we are. And I really mean that. I am keenly aware of most of the countless challenges our county face, and they're not simple challenges. They're compound and complex ones. Not a single one of you or any of the rest of us other community leaders, for that matter, have all of the answers to life's questions, nor the solutions to our community's problems. We have to learn to agree and learn to agree to disagree. I've learned more lessons than I could ever teach, and precisely believe without a doubt that learning is a lifelong process. Yet I don't believe we have to be the subject of every event and every lesson every time. Let me get to the point of my presence here today. As a longtime local legislator or community policy maker, I had to learn the art of balancing my public policy making duties with my administrative obligations within our family's business, and equally my pastoral responsibilities at a local church. At some point, all elected officials must move across the threshold of basic politics and engage in governance. I have not seen in all of my days the extreme polarizations of various groups throughout our nation, and it has hit home, whose sole purpose is to divide communities of people by region, religion, race, and etc. I didn't personally realize how much a party affiliation mattered locally within our own community until 4 months ago, scoring well above my passion for people and my public service history. Rest assured, I willingly accepted the results and the smooth transition, and actually I'm just as busy now joyfully serving my community. I want to recall a moment how well I and many others were taught by professional instructors in the Certified and Advanced County Commissioner programs sponsored by the Florida Association of Counties. In those courses, I learned so much about how to and how not to legislate within our county. The main focus of our developmental courses stressed the importance of making tough policy choices in Florida and especially within our respective county during tumultuous times. Over many years, our county has had the unfortunate history of chronic economic anemia, therefore creating an unstable and insecure future, requiring the adoption of a consensus-built, breathing strategic plan to ensure both our surviving and ultimate thriving. The premise: the future of our local community and the Putnam County government that serves us depends upon several important factors. Number one, your caliber of leadership and stewardship, especially in these times of unprecedented challenges and uncertainty. Number 2, the level or degree to which you, our local officials, seek to shape our county's future through dynamic leadership and stewardship that engages the best in all of our citizens, not a select few. Number 3, your willingness and capacity to be pace setters in redefining and sustaining local government excellence and intergovernmental partnerships. And number 4, your application of leadership, stewardship, and strategic thinking to protect your ability to represent and serve all citizens' needs and interests. Commissioners, we're similar in many ways. Most often, we work hard. We really should be first in areas that we're listed last in. At least we should be somewhere near the top of the list. And vice versa, we're listed first or at the top of the list because we don't understand exactly what the formula is. And many times the results are skewed. We've all become sick and tired of being listed last on quality of life indicators. When we're on lists, we prefer not to be mentioned or even listed at all. I have likewise grown weary of hearing about the unwillingness of individuals working together. Small talk about how pitiful we are as Putnam Countyans, mostly due to countless conspiracy theories, unproven innuendos, and numerous arising and troubling unorthodox factions. When will the condemnation hearings cease and desist? When will citizen madness be converted to citizen gladness? When will we learn from our past and press forward to our future? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Elected officials are uniquely positioned to achieve positive change within our county. And in most cases, this is achieved through respective relationships with our administrative department heads and staff, and of course with many other leaders, including local, state, and national. What our leaders do or don't do for that matter, and equally how we conduct the county's business, reflect universally on all of us, and it greatly impacts our future. However, it starts with our own internal customers, our employees, our vendors, our family, our friends, our neighbors, and ultimately our external customers, our potential citizens, future businesses and industries, and anyone who's viewing us even right now from an international vantage point. I didn't agree with the way the state audit was ordered, thrust upon us, or even the need for an audit. Yet I fully embraced that extensive audit, although I was never asked a single question by anyone, and subsequently was not shocked by its conclusion and final outcome. The unproven claims of mismanagement itemized in the audit by a few insiders and outsiders caused lots of aches and pains, mostly to our hardworking, competent, underpaid, overextended staff. But more importantly, commissioners, it provided opportunity for us to revise policies, practices, and procedures. But now, since a response has been submitted, do we move forward? Or do we re-audit the audit? What will it take to reunite us and create real synergy within our county that benefits all of our citizens and businesses? When will the negativity stop? When is enough simply enough? Do we want to achieve recognition for being the #1 county for regress or the #1 county for progress? I personally and professionally respect the wisdom of well-thought-out legislation, not the reactionary, politically engineered thoughts submitted and promoted by the disgruntled. I want, and we deserve, excellence in visionary leadership. I want what all citizens request, deliberate transparency. I want progressive forward economic traction and movement, etc. How shall and when will policymakers refrain from crossing the line of dictating, micromanaging, and or interfering daily with our employed experts and staff specialists who were hired from an impressive resume and with professional credentials? I have greater expectations for our county and its municipalities. It won't happen until there are constant consensus building exercises. It won't occur by incident nor by accident. It will occur with purpose, for purpose, and on purpose when differences are cast aside and partners get to work on our community's long list of priorities. I'm not the one to question your authority or the one that will question your desire to accomplish certain goals, but I will cross-examine you to the mountaintop and back on your methodology and the tools you use to display your madness, the ram you choose to conceal your reason, and the playbook by which you decide to initiate certain unthoughtful, self-centered decisions. If applicable, I humbly ask all of our officials to disclose and dismantle any and all disruptive and divisive personal political agendas and invent ways to restore unity within our community. Take the lead and be an example of exemplary citizenship. I need our elected officials to comprehend and appreciate the need for reciprocal respect when dealing with department administrators and staff. I need our officials to immediately commence representing the total community, not just select citizens, special interest group, and our political factions, and not be disturbed by individuals who have a difference of opinion, who sometimes speak out when others are speaking. I need our officials to learn to appreciate the power of team-based strategic thinking, decision-making, and performance. I need our leaders to embrace and become agents of change, address our difficult issues, build trust-filled relationships, and respond rather than react to valid citizens' concerns. I need our leaders to instill hope in our hearts, a spirit of renewal, revitalization, and restoration to our community. Use the little things to make a big difference. I need our leaders to recognize our greatest strengths and maximize them. I'm closing. That's what I say when I preach. I need our leaders to admit and analyze our greatest weaknesses and to be determined to transform them into our strength. I need our leaders to practice civility and require decorum within all of our meetings. I need our leaders to lead the transformation effort to progressively move us forward. Finally, perhaps during your next agenda item or at some time certain in the future, please assist your own staff and us everyday citizens. Help us to understand why you make decisions that you make. We don't question your authority, we simply question your decision. Describe the reasons for your demonstrated lack of protocol or when you decide to veer off from normal operating procedures, and share those examples and those facts leading up to your decision. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you again for the privilege and the pleasure of being among you as public servants in this, our community. If you have no questions, I remain humbled to have engaged your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, Mr. Flagg. Commissioner? Commissioners, any comments for?
I would just like to thank Reverend Flagg, Pastor Flagg, most folks call him, for your many years of leadership. And that was a very moving speech and motivating speech. Thank you, sir, very much.
Yes, very motivating. Thank you. Other commissioners? Okay.
I'd just like to thank Carl for your passion, your community service, your heart, your mind, and you're just a blessing to have in our county. Thank you.
Stacey,
I was just going to ask if we could have 5 minutes before moving to the next topic.
Sorry?
I was just going to ask if we could have 5 minutes till we move to the next
We do have a
topic.
public comment card on this item, so as soon as we get done with that, Russ Castleberry, if you will come up, you want to speak about this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Russ Castleberry, Palaca, Florida. I asked to speak on this item. Number one, to endorse what Mr. Flagg said. I have a lot of respect for him personally and professionally. And number two, as a segue into the next item, I've been asked to deliver a letter to each of the commissioners, if I may approach.
You may approach. Do you have one for Tony also?
Don't.
Okay.
Tip will give her a copy.
Is this? We need to read this now? Okay. Okay. Would you like for me to read it out loud?
Yes.
March 28, 2017, Board of County Commissioners, Putnam County, Palaca, Florida. I hear Board of County Commissioners, Putnam County, Palaca, Florida, 32177. I hereby tender my notice of retirement as Putnam County Administrator, effective immediately. Rick Leary. Order, order. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Castleberry. We will take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. And consideration of replacing county administrator. Looks like that's already been done.
Mr. Chairman, there were some
Hang on,
folks.
Hang on. Okay. Can you turn me up just a little bit? Because I don't think I can't hardly hear me either.
I think all the mics need to go up.
All the mics need to go up? All right. Tell me in the back when you can hear me, and I'll continue to talk. Everybody can hear me? All right. Thank you very much. Commissioner Goddard, this was your item. We need a little guidance here from our attorney. Basically, this item has been null and voided by the letter, I would imagine.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, the item is discussion and consideration of replacing county administrator. I'd say it's more relevant than ever, given Mr. Leary's retirement, effective immediately. At this point, I think the board needs to consider a couple of different things. Given the county's current organizational structure, Ms. Papel is the acting county administrator. I think you all need to decide if you would like her to remain in that capacity by appointing her or anybody else interim county administrator. Discussion of what you might pay an interim county administrator, and then also discussion about how you wish to move forward in seeking Mr. Leary's replacement, whether that be by through the HR department, through the use of committees, through use of outside agency. I think those are the relevant issues that need to be decided at this point.
All right, before we move on to that, I have a bunch of cards here that people want to speak in favor or against. There's really no need to do that at this point.
Well.
But, I mean, I don't want to negate the public. Hang on. I don't want to negate the public's ability to speak. So I think that's very important in our free democracy that we live in. I'm just trying to get a point of clarity so, we don't look like we're not doing something that we're supposed to be doing.
Well, as the chair, certainly that's, you're in charge of the meeting, and that's really a call for you all to make.
Okay, we'll go forward. Commissioner Goddard, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. I would like to say I was surprised at this. I was hoping to make a nice transition and open it for discussion, which we had. I did want to clarify, the paper mentioned that I wanted him fired. That was not my intent by any means. It was to start the process, is what I said, to replace him. However, we don't want to miss the fact that Mr. Leary has helped us. He's been here for 16 years through some tough times. My thought pattern is probably an old country adage that when you find yourself in a hole, place your shovel down and stop digging. I saw it was heading for bankruptcy. Saw on that progress 6 years ago when the reserves were used up. Things needed to change. Whether he was the main purpose, I don't know, but as the head of that department, I wanted to see change. I'm not really pleased at the way this worked out, but it is what it is. And I, like everyone in here, want our county to move forward. I think we're doing a great job in so many things. Let's just move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Goddard. Commissioners? All right, we'll go to public comment. Mr. Bob Taylor, is this the item you wanted to speak on, sir? Yes, sir. Okay, please come forward.
Good morning, Chairman
Morning,
Leary,
sir.
Commissioner Lible, Commissioner Goddard, Commissioner Pickett. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. I'm dumbfounded. I think things really got out of hand, and what I had scripted just doesn't seem apropos. I think the county will be the loss. The county administrator is simply an action arm of this commission. And I thought Mr. Leary had done a terrific job for his years of experience, and is certainly worth what he was paid. When you consider other counties, surrounding counties, all of those administrators made more money. It seems that we were getting a deal for what we were paying. And now his experience is gone, and this commission will be saddled with the task of not only dealing with the budget issues, but with trying to find a replacement at a critical time in our county's efforts to reconcile the budget. Without that leadership and expertise, I do want to thank this commission and the Public Works for paving Comfort Road. I've lived there since the early 90s, and I believe this is the first time anything's been done there, except for patching potholes. And I really appreciate that. And striping the road, what a plus. And I appreciate what the county does with the limited fundings. I'm also here to speak in behalf of a project that was accomplished by the county. It was the Bostwick Fire Station. And I want you to review the facts, the record of the information, because simply, gentlemen, some of the things that were said on the 20th of February were just not true. A scope of the work for the project was established, and it was provided before the project was initiated. The scope was for a smaller building, and certain things were to be provided by the county, by the owner's separate forces, in an attempt to reduce costs and save money. These separate contractors were coordinated by us and by our engineers at no increase in fee. The $35,000 or $350,000 budget number was derived on preliminary drawings and outline specifications and was a goal. It wasn't a hard bid. It wasn't delivered based on careful evaluation, but it was a goal, admittedly aspirational. Our fees were mentioned, and I want you to understand that our fees included compensation to our engineers for structural, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, fire detection and alarm, fire sprinkler protection, and generator design. All of those were included. There were additional services for geotechnical engineers, wetlands environmental design, and civil engineering, and we coordinated and administrated all of those engineers as part of our services. It is noteworthy to recall that the auditor stated that the county records did not demonstrate the most effective process was utilized for selecting construction site or soliciting and negotiating the CME services to construct the project. Again, the record will clearly show that the process that was used for selecting a construction manager followed established protocol, similar to the one that was used for the Putnam County Jail, in accordance with Florida statutes, Chapter 255.20 and 287.055, procurement of personal property and services. The record shows that an advertisement was produced and published. The scope of the work, drawings, and specifications were updated per 1 April 2014. The County General Services Office and our offices assisted in soliciting advertisements and invitations. Our office personally sent out 13 different invitations. Proposals were received on 1 May 2014, and only 2 contractors responded. Sealed fee proposals were submitted, but remained sealed until the firms were ranked.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes, sir.
the board has instructed me recently to start keeping on task a little bit better.
Okay, sir.
And I have allowed a lot of leeway, but if you'd bring it back to the item that we're talking about and wrap it up, I would greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, Chairman Leary. Well, then I'll just close by saying it's important to note that the project was completed on time with a minimum of change orders. As a matter of fact, there was only one change order, and it was a deduct for $114,900. The guaranteed maximum price at completion was $555,000. The takeaway of this presentation is that the entire process complied with statutes. Putnam County citizens were involved in building a community fire station, and the audit found no fault with the acquisition or public service for a remote and worthy community. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for a job well done.
Mrs. Debbie Griffin, you will be next.
Commissioner Harvey, could I possibly reserve my right to give my comments after all the other public comments?
I'll move you to the back. Ms. Roxanne Weeks. Yes, go ahead. And we are going to keep a timeline. That's another thing I've been instructed that, based on a resolution back in 2013, that we do try to keep a 3-minute timeline, and I do have some discretion over that, but we're going to try to keep very close to that as we go forward. Thank you, Ms. Weeks.
Yes, sir. Roxanne Weeks, Palaca, Florida. There's no need for my full comments. I thank Commissioner Goddard and Commissioner Harvey, or Chairman Harvey, for having the backbone to actually stand up and listen to the people and do what they asked, because you represent us. And I think it's typical that this is the way Mr. Leary left this county. And throughout these years, he has not let us out of economic problems that occurred in 08 and 09. And I think we will be able to move forward from here on. And this is a great day for Putnam County and its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weeks. Mr. Rick Haven, he's not in the audience. Mr. Herman Summers.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, this is not a good day for Putnam County. Some of you may be grateful that this has happened, but it's not a good thing. If you got a problem with the county administrator, it should be discussed with the county administrator. If you have a problem with the county administrator, you have problems with yourself, because he works under your direction at your discretion. If you've got money problems, don't blame the county administrator, blame yourselves. And for goodness sakes, don't go running to a neighboring county, or don't go running to Tallahassee to put our dirty laundry, or your perceived our dirty laundry, before the world to see. It's not necessary. If you have doubts about Mr. Smith's office, discuss it with Mr. Smith and work out something with Mr. Smith. Let me tell you something. This county is not headed in the right direction, and your steps today did not guide us in a positive direction. Just look at our indicators of performance. We're at the bottom of every list that there is, particularly unemployment. Just open your eyes and look. When you enter Putnam County, you see the change. St. Johns County, Flagler County, Clay County, construction is just everywhere that you look. Not in Putnam County. We can't even keep our roads mowed properly. We can't keep our trash picked up properly. How many permits have been issued in Putnam County last year and so far this year. And why have we issued so few permits? Because if you talk to building people that's in the building industry, they'll tell you, no, we're not going to try to build in Putnam County. You can't get a permit there. That's under your direction. Gentlemen, you need to take some positive steps to do some positive things towards leading Putnam County off the bottom of the list and move us to the top. If you look around in this county, it's pathetic to look at the number of homes that's just been abandoned. It's pathetic to look at the number of blue tarps that remain on top of houses for years. It's pathetic to look at Kmart, Radio Shack, Pennies. They're leaving Putnam County. And gentlemen, I'll say one of the reasons they're leaving Putnam County is because you have not exerted positive leadership. I say to you this morning that, yeah, we needed a firing in Putnam County, but I don't believe it was Mr. Leary that needed to be fired. And I think maybe some of you who are new commissioners, that it's yet to be seen.
Thank you, Mr.
But be positive and lead this county forward. Don't go sneaking behind somebody and cut their throat in the bushes.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Carolyn Swoop, not here. Faye Sparkman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just so you all realize, when you are a county or a state employee,
Pull that microphone.
when you're a county or state employee and somebody wants to retire, you have to vote on that to send a state that it's okay for them to do that. There's a couple things that brought all this about. We had a very intelligent minority lady. She's a state senator from Jacksonville, Audrey Gibson, who made the audit a 0 vote to have it done. Everybody has to do an audit. I don't care what business you're in, if it's your own home, whatever. You even have to balance your own checkbook. We needed the audit to show us in the right direction to go. Some of the things that upset us was the 52 picture frames that cost each and every one of us $275. You can't see them unless you ask for an audit. And if you were to ask the lady that's doing your finances right now why this county's the shape that it's in, I'm quite sure she's going to tell you we're very close to bankruptcy. We're going to have to do something, and these are some of the things that bothered all of us. This is modern technology. Do I like it? When I retired, if somebody would have told me we're going to have all this modern stuff, I want to know what to do with it. To this day, I do not text or anything like that. Modern technology is the way of the world. And if we don't have people in those seats, all of you, that want to follow the state statutes, which I have never saw them followed until November. Now you're starting to follow them. You are to be the direction to give the county administrator the authority of what you want him to do. That's your jobs. All we can do is sit in the back and watch it. But never in this county has that happened until we replace some of those seats. Just follow your state statutes. When you're interviewing somebody, do it together at a workshop. The other thing, I don't know how many of you know it, but all your heads of your department get an experience pay raise every year. It's automatic renewing. Some of them are $5,000. When our regular employees, we can't keep them because we don't pay them enough. These are some of the reasons why we asked for him to retire. Not resign or be replaced, but just to retire.
I had to retire. Do I like it? No. And I'm not faced for all the modern technology, but we have to do it. The landfill is another good example. We have to go modern technology throughout this whole world. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bartman. Mr. Wayne McLean?
Wayne McLean, 285 West River Road, here representing myself today. First of all, Commissioners, I want to thank you for your service to our county. Tough job, but I do appreciate each and every one of your service. Obviously, my comments were going to be in support of the county administrator, but that's not valid at this point. But I would say the audit, if I could speak to that. It was an audit takes place in any business, and I've been through many of them. There's always going to be issues that's going to be fine. And when you take an audit, you take it and improve upon yourself. But I think our audit did not show any malfeasance, which I was glad to hear. So for that point, I think we should take the audit and move on. I would also ask you, as you deliberate now and the type of county administrator you want, that you look for those qualities of leadership that you look for each one of yourself. Mr. Chairman Harvey, that's all I have to say on this, but may I comment on something on Robert's Rules of Order very
Yes, sir.
quickly? Having attended the last 4 commission meetings and sitting in the back of the room, I think the chairman needs to be a little more assertive in making sure that a quorum is taking place within the commission meetings. It is hard to listen when people are having a second meeting going on behind the back. You have police officers here. I would ask you to ask them to act as sergeant at arms to keep some order in the audience so the people that want to hear what's going on can. Also, in closing, I'd like to say when public comment cards are put in, they should be taken in the order that they presented, not randomly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ed Killebrew and John Newbold's up next, please.
Ed Killebrew, 146 Barden Estates Circle, Palaca, Florida. Wasn't going to speak this morning, but I do want to say, I do have a few things I need to say now. Commissioner Goddard, when you made the motion in the last meeting to dismiss or to start seeking a new county administrator, you said you'd heard from many people through your county trails wandering through the county. I hope what just happened in here a while ago showed you that they're a minority, not a majority. I hope the absence of people in this building right now shows you that. This minority that's been coming in here, rebel-rousing, doing exactly what Wayne McLean just said a minute ago, speaking up when they don't need to speak up, interrupting the meetings, that should be halted, Mr. Harvey. That should, just like he said, you have officers here for a reason. I have a lot to say, but I'm a little angry right now, and I can't recall everything I got to say. I'm just a citizen of Putnam County, just like these people back here behind me are. And I just want you to know, I'm not real happy with the way that y'all have allowed this. I mean, Rick has a right to do what he did, and I understand that, and go on. I mean, that's fine. But to push him to that point, the way that y'all been pushing him, is wrong. It's totally wrong. He was. Everybody brings up the dump, this, that, and the other. He was just doing what the commission told him to do. I mean, according to all the rules and laws that I know of, the county administrator, y'all tell him what to do. Am I wrong, Mr. Manning?
Please direct all questions to me, Mr. Killebrew.
Okay.
The board has asked me to do that.
I'll do it.
Okay.
But that, I mean, I hope, Mr. Goddard, you see where the majority, I mean, there's a lot of people that can't be here, like myself. I've taken time out in the last several months to be here because I'm concerned. I take time from my business to come here to try to walk through these things and listen to y'all. But not everybody can do that. Not everybody doesn't have a job. Okay? So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
Ed, if you don't mind, I do want to thank you. I thank you because you are very much concerned with our county. You are promoting our county. And I want to clarify, I know that you're saying the board. This was not just the board, this was me. So don't, you know, I don't want it to be put on the other commissioners of what happened there. I'll take this solely. Also, when I was running for office, I'm out there and I'm at the forums, and I'm at one end or the other, whether it's in Crescent City, the West End, all over the place, at Walmart. I hear it. So I heard both sides, but I did hear more that made me make my decision based on also things that I saw where we were heading. This did not turn out the way that I had hoped it would. But again, I'm asking you, don't put the blame on the other commissioners. Put that blame on me, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goddard. Commissioner? Excuse us, just. No, I'll bring, thank you, Commissioner. Mary Kay.
Yeah, Mr. Newbold.
Yeah, I know, but you put a blue card here to talk about some homes and real estate for sale. We're going to wait on that for a while. We're in the middle of another one right now, okay? John Newbold, you have the floor, sir. Thank you. While he's coming up, let me say, I have been very relaxed and allowing people to go over the 3 minutes. I have a hearing issue a little bit. I hear some things that go on, but I don't hear them all. And if you notice during the meeting today, I gabbled one down because I did hear it. If you're being disturbed, please say something. Raise your hand. I will try to find you, and I will try to bring an order to this meeting. I want to do that. Mr. Newbold, you have the floor, and I apologize for that.
Okay. Having sitting in the audience, if you pull those mics close to you, kind of put it in your mouth, we can hear it.
Right.
Okay. I came here to speak on behalf of the county administrator, Mr. Leary, and I'm very disappointed that he has resigned. But I'm still going to say a few things about him, and I can only do it through my experience. It's been over several years, many years, but most recently it was when we were dealing with the county landfill issue. And like many of you, I really didn't know that issue. And there's some new members here, and your learning curve is great. But in my case, I really did my homework, and then I looked at the budget, I looked at all that was going on. I talked to people outside of the county that knew what was going on. And then I went to Mr. Leary and the attorney at the time. And we had a meeting. I didn't understand certain things that were in the contract, but I learned. And then I learned that the contract that they had negotiated was a magnificent contract that the county could have benefited from. But the wisdom of the commission was to turn it down. But my point is, I got information. I met more than once. When I would get on an issue that I didn't understand, I'd go to them. I didn't just walk in the door. I would call them and say, when can I meet with you? And they would give me an appointment. And I was never turned away, and it was always with courtesy. And I know in my experience, in my heart of hearts, he had and still has the integrity and the goodwill of the county. And you're going to have a hard time coming up with a person with that integrity and that experience. And I have a great passion for this county. I think everybody in this room does. And one reason he has resigned is because people like me sat on our duffs and stayed home and let a small group make this an issue, and it really wasn't an issue. He is a man of integrity, and I know that in my heart, and I think each of you know that. And it's just a shame that he is, I guess you'd say, forced out. I guess that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newbold.
Thank you, Mr. Newbold.
Miss Debbie Griffin.
Good morning, Commissioner Harvey and other commissioners. I had some prepared remarks to make this morning, but in light of what's transpired, that's no longer applicable. But I would like to say to those that are concerned about this county that just because some people here disagree with your opinion does not mean that they are not equally as concerned about what's happening in this county. And whenever people don't feel as though their voices are heard, or whenever they don't feel as though the fiduciary responsibilities are met, then they seek other action. And for those of you that have voiced your disapproval for the audit that took place, let me just tell you that from being audited many times, an audit is nothing to fear. I personally spoke to Mr. Gomez, who conducted the Putnam audit, and let me assure you that his opinion was that if the landfill had been sold, that the audit that you received would have looked a lot different than the one that you got. You did get 10 findings, but had it been sold, it would have looked differently. I'm not here today, now, at this moment, to disclose all the things that I learned about the landfill, but let me just respectfully say that I disagree with Mr. Newbold. It was not a good contract. It was not in the best interest of this county, and every citizen here is paying an extraordinary fee for decisions that were made that should not have been made. We were never forced to mine. That was a selective decision that was made on behalf of the county administrator and his staff. And I did not come here to try to impugn him or to castigate him in any way, shape, or form. But let me tell you that there are always two sides to the story, and I believe that as the elected officials that you owe it to your constituents to find both sides of the story. I would be happy to share with you the SWAB presentation that I made that revealed the facts about the landfill, not the opinions about the landfill, and I'd be happy to share them with each of you if you'd like it. I believe that Commissioner Leibel and Commissioner Harvey already have that. I'd be happy to supply it to the new commissioners. And I would ask the people in this county to remember that what we need as a whole is progress. What we need is open-mindedness. What we need is fairness. And what we need is, above all, I think, is to remember that you have a fiduciary responsibility to all of the people in this county to treat their money wisely and to treat it as though it's empowered for you to take care of it, not that it belongs to you to spend it in the way that you see fit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Thank you very much. All right, that is the end of our blue cards. Historically, we've allowed people to come up and who didn't fill out a blue card. If you want to do that, state your name and address, and we are going to try to keep it to a 3-minute time limit. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public comment part. Commissioners, we have some questions on the table concerning this item now in light of our administrator who has resigned his employment. We do, as Stacy mentioned, and I wrote them down as quick as I could, need to appoint an interim, and we need to do that today. Is that correct?
Well, no, Ms. Papel is acting according to the organizational chart, so it doesn't necessarily have to be today.
Okay. Or we could. We need to talk about a salary today. Is that correct?
For an interim, so whenever that's discussed, that would be part of that discussion.
Historically, I've not been able to really get down to the nitty-gritty over the years about what the salary looks like. So do you have any idea what that would, you or Ms. Papel, have any idea what that salary would look like?
For an interim, I can't comment on that. I really don't know. Ms. Allen may.
HR Director, Ms. Allen, would you come up to the podium, please, and We'll try to whittle this one item at a time. Thank you. The question on the table is historically, when someone fills in as their interim, what is the salary of that person based on the previous salary?
Well, the position is been a contracted position, and I think in this case it would not be under contract. So our normal course of action is really a range. It could be up to 10% or the minimum of that pay grade. However, there is no pay grade for a contracted position.
But our administrator wasn't under contract, so is that different now?
Well,
or-
actually, his contract was expired.
It expired back in, okay.
Right. So he was not
So you
under
used a number of
contract.
10% of what?
10% of their current salary or up to the minimum of that new pay grade, whichever is higher. However, that position does not have a pay grade, so what I would recommend is you determine what you'd like to do. I mean, it's open.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Goddard, do you have a question, sir?
Ms. Papel, do you have a dollar amount in mind or a percentage?
If you were offering it to me,
Yes.
Well, I think, no, but not offering, well, automatically by default until we
generally we go 10%
appoint. Okay,
of the incumbent salary.
okay. So it's 10. Go ahead.
If I could just say something, what has happened here today is, was a surprise, but anyway, this is a pretty serious matter. And I don't really feel comfortable making those decisions sitting at this board without having a workshop for us to discuss these things, from who's going to be the interim person, like their salary, how we're going to search for a new person, a new county administrator. So that's my opinion there. We can make them here today, but I think we need to sit down and think this one through. I believe in taking action, not a knee-jerk reaction, and I feel we might be headed in that direction.
When could we, I like that, Commissioner
We
Pickens.
call a special one. We don't have to wait till our time frame is.
But we do have an advertisement deadline that we have to go by. So, Stacy, when could we possibly pull off, Mr. Manning, I'm sorry, not, our timelines on advertising for a workshop?
Well, the notice requirements is reasonable notice given the circumstances. There is no set number of days that would have to be provided notice. So I don't know with the newspaper how many days lead time they need before they can put something in the paper. But as I said, there's no specified number of days. So if you wanted to do that later this week, notice can be provided on the doors out in front of the building and on the county website, and that can be reasonable given the circumstances. If you want to have a meeting tomorrow, it really is up to you all. We'll provide as much notice as possible given the time frame that you're looking at having a meeting.
Chairman Harvey?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to point out, I think we're probably going to read about this in the newspaper tomorrow, and that will be not legal notice, but it'll be one form of notice. And second, I would have been acting anyway while Mr. Leary was in Europe, so I would have been acting for the next couple of weeks anyway.
Okay. Commissioner Pickens, what time frame would you like to do a workshop at?
I can't do it
Until
next Wednesday, but I think you'll be in Tallahassee longer than that. But I don't have a day this week that I can do a workshop.
Do we have our calendars with us now, or can we start looking at, how is next Thursday on the calendar? We have a public safety meeting, but we could easily bump that.
Is that the 6th?
That is the 6th.
Both Commissioner Pickens and myself will be gone the 6th and the
Okay.
7th.
Okay.
For class, we're going to be in Tallahassee.
That's the 4th and 5th.
That's the 4th.
And 5th. You'll be back on the 6th.
No, sir, I'll be gone the 6th.
Oh, that's right. You have a different class. That's right.
Okay.
Friday, April 7th. You'll be gone.
I'll be gone.
Monday, April 10th.
I believe that can be done.
Okay. Would that be,
What time? 2? Yeah, I'll make it work.
okay. All right. Let's do April 10th. We'll have a workshop meeting at 2 o'clock here, solely on county administrator, interim, and committee, or however we want to proceed at that point. Okay, commissioners, I think that we've pretty much whittled that stick down. Is there any other items for discussion on that topic, on topic number 9? All right, hearing none. Item number 10, codes enforcement, John Salmons. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a fine reduction request for case 2014-015, 404 Ash Street in Palatka. The owner is Chicago Title Insurance. They got it back from the owner that we started the case on. The type of violation was care of premises. Length of time to achieve compliance was 2 years, 8 months. We have one lien on it. It's a daily fine lien. The length of time owned by Chicago Title Insurance Company was about 17 months. They have the property sold now. They're going to deal with the reduced fine, assuming that you approve it at the closing, and it'll be paid at that point in time. The staff is recommending that the county accept $739 in lieu of the $17,500 fine if it's paid within 30 days of board action. This property will be put back into on the tax rolls and in good stead after that. Any questions?
All right, any questions from Mr. Salmons concerning case number 2014-0515? All right, hearing none, commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I'd make a motion that we accept the $739.
We have a proper motion by Commissioner Goddard.
Discussion?
We need a second first.
Second.
I'll second.
For discussion.
Okay, we have a second by, actually I heard Commissioner Pickens first. Second, now we have discussion. Commissioner Lible, you have the floor.
Mr. Salmons, is anybody representing the bank here today?
The realtor was here earlier. There she is.
Yes.
Please come up, ma'am, and state your name. Commissioner Lible has some questions.
Well, I just want to give them opportunity for comment, if so,
Okay.
is protocol. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Lorraine Gacious. I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker Premier Properties in St. Augustine. I represent Chicago Title. We have the property listed, and we actually have a contract for sale on the purchase and sale on the property. And it's supposed to close once we get this settled. The property is not, the contract on the property is much less than the fines that the county has imposed.
I guess my question would be, does your entity you represent agree with the terms and conditions the county set forth here?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
we had discussions over. Commissioners, affirmative vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Now-
you for being here.
Now we have a 10 o'clock certain at 11:06, Planning and Development hearing, public hearing, Mr. Stacy Manning, proposed ordinance.
Yeah, after, this is regarding the moratorium on medical marijuana dispensaries. We've had numerous discussions, the board has, on this topic, and understandably, there's really, from what I've seen and heard from the commissioners, there's seemed to be a desire to to wait until the legislature does what it's going to do, or see if it's going to do anything before this county moves forward with regulating medical marijuana dispensaries. And rightfully so, I think, in my opinion anyways, that there's a possibility that the legislature may do some things which would either preempt the county or could create duplicative regulations. So this current moratorium expires at the end of this month. What I have proposed before you is an extension of that current moratorium. I did extend it, or write this for a 6-month extension. That is longer than what we've been doing up until now. Those have been 30 or 60 days. But I thought it was somewhat redundant to keep bringing it back before you every 30 or 60 days when if we do it for 6 months, as I've proposed here, then whenever the legislature does act, we could certainly bring this back up for repeal at that time.
Okay. I have a question. If we decide, though, that after the legislative session that we want to pull this back off, we can bring this back up and go ahead and enact an ordinance to be able to distribute? Because I don't want to leave our citizens out.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I said we could bring it back for repeal at that time, and then move forward with an ordinance that was consistent with what we're seeing coming out of Tallahassee.
Or before that, before
Sure,
September. Yeah.
absolutely. If you all wanted to bring it up before for repeal, that's completely up to you all.
Okay. Commissioner Lible, you have
Thank you. And the previous meeting with Mr. Manning on this subject, I was concerned with the same thing. I know that some of the counties around us are not inducive to even entertain this. But discussing what you heard today, this could be an opportunity for Putnam County to really create an industry that could put people to work as far, as a legal industry. Also, I think that we should leave ourselves flexible because typically in the month of July, whatever the legislature has done, the statutes and new rules and regulations will come out in July and could be implemented. And if we are in position to move quickly, on something that's been vetted, I don't want to do anything foolish, but we should put ourselves in that position, in considering the position we're in. And I think it'd be very wise. Don't have to do anything, but I had concern with that. And also, Mr. Manning, I spoke with you about paragraph 7. I would like to see that erased from this ordinance because it speaks to recreational marijuana and not medical marijuana. I think it cast a somewhat black cloud over the industry prematurely and puts us in a position that maybe would turn off a prospective business in the future.
Commissioner Lible, will you identify for the record?
Count down from the top, 7 down. It's the bigger of all the paragraphs, and just take a moment and read that and see what, I entertain your thoughts on it also.
Commissioner Lible, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are you satisfied with the September 30th date, or would you prefer a future?
Yeah, with the stipulation that we can move at any time, like you brought up. We're still able to put a deal together if there's something lucrative for us. And according to the building department, he is getting, Kevin will tell you, the calls for this business, this type business, are starting to really happen. And he's very encouraging. If you want to take a moment to ask Kevin what he's hearing at the building end. The inquiries are numerous.
I would like to hear.
Yeah.
And I want to say while you're making your way up, it's not just the financial impact, it's medically necessary. We're talking about people that need.
That's why I don't like 7.
Right, I don't like 7
you would think
either.
you were putting up a liquor store in a very bad neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't like
This
7.
is not what this is. We're talking, possibly a pharmacy.
That's right.
Right, we do get phone
Powell,
calls
would you
on this.
state your name for the
Kevin Powell, Putnam County Building Department. We do get phone calls on this subject because of the surrounding counties pretty much shutting it out. We do have people that do look at Putnam County. I would love to see it come here, obviously for building purposes, so we can get construction going and get jobs going. But we do have phone calls on the dispensaries, and also we've had inquiries on the actual production of it.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Commissioner Lible, you were
Yeah,
in the driver's seat on this one.
Well, you've had a chance to read it. I'd like to add, though, Senator Bradley's request at the legislature through the Senate right now involves bringing a higher number of manufacturers into the game, and those potential expansion of farms are really looking at Putnam County and big acreages. This could be a nice little industry for us if it all pans out well through the legislature. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Are you ready to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, before that, if I could provide some guidance on that motion, if you will allow me. Based upon what I'm hearing, if Commissioner Lible is going to make that motion, I would suggest that the motion be to adopt the ordinance as presented with the exception that paragraph 7 be deleted, and in paragraph 8, the words "of the above," which are words 3, 4, and 5 in the first line of paragraph 8, also be deleted. It doesn't make sense if paragraph 7 is taken out.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval as council has stated.
We have a proper motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Attorney, I think I messed up. It's a public hearing, so we should.
You're correct. You're right.
Should hear from
Absolutely
the public,
right.
and I apologize. Mr. Lible, will you be willing to?
I will.
Okay, and will you be willing to?
Yes.
To withdraw? Thank you. I'm sorry, we just got kind of ahead of
We
ourselves.
got passionate for a minute.
Yeah, we did. So, is there anybody from the public that would like to speak against this item? We'll do that one first. Anybody from the public would like to speak in favor of this item?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Well, Ms. Engelking, if you don't mind, are you going to come up and speak? Come speak. State your name, and then Mr. Smith will be on deck.
My name is Mary Kay Engelking, Palaca, Florida. I am definitely for this. I have glaucoma in both of my eyes, and that is one of the 10 items that this is going to be covering. So I'm really energized with this. Thank you for moving on, and let's see if we can make some money in the county, but also be helping people in the county who do have these disabilities. And I'm looking forward, like I said, with the glaucoma, it is one of the items which you eventually could go blind. So thank you. And like I said, I keep saying thank you, but I kept waiting for you to say, okay, what are you going to do? Let's move on. We can make some money, and let's get involved in this. It will be good for a lot of people in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to refer back to an earlier workshop that was held on this item back when this was first introduced, and there were some thoughts of having a ranking process to allow who would actually get some type of license if they were limited. But one of the components was that an existing business would get some additional points in this ranking process, which to me would limit then local opportunities for people to be part of this industry. So I had concerns back at that meeting. I just wanted to express those again as you move forward, that I don't think that it's fair to give additional points in some ranking scenario for an existing business, because all those are going to be out of state. And so I would ask you to be considerate of the opportunities for local folks to be in this industry. Thank you.
You know, Mr. Smith, I appreciate that comment, because I often say my thought at the end of the day is a really good thought until I wake up in the morning and think about it some more. I had the same feelings when we went through that, but to be honest with you, I do not share that same view today. I like capitalism and I like free enterprise. So my thought that day was a good thought, but today it has changed. And only because of, we would be restricting people, and only the big players from outside would be allowed to play. That's just this commissioner's view, but we'll see how that goes when that time comes. Commissioners, any other questions? Or any other? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion.
I'd like to reinstate my original motion that eliminates paragraph 7 from this ordinance and partial wording in paragraph 8.
Okay, we have a proper motion by Commissioner Lible.
And I'll second.
Proper second by Commissioner Goddard. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, appointments. Affordable Housing Committee, District 5. No, nobody yet? Okay. Better Place Plan Oversight Committee, District 1.
Yeah, I'd like to make the recommendation to nominate Bo Brewer
Okay.
for that position.
We're going to take them all at one time if that's sufficient. Funding, Fishing Fund, Library Board, Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, District 1, Planning Commission. I have one at large that I would like to propose. A fine young man by the name of Joe Roberts, if that's okay. He was a very star on the TV show the other night at the basketball game in Madison Square Gardens. Value Adjustment Board. This is where 2 commissioners and 1 citizen. This does require the chair, is that correct? Mr. Manning?
No.
No?
I'd have to look at that. I wasn't prepared for that question. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It never has before in the past. I'm not saying that we were doing it right all along, but I think we probably were.
I would have to review that.
Why don't we wait on that? Let's make sure. Okay.
And could you clarify on the at-large,
Joe Roberts?
That would be for
I'm sorry,
Ray
for-
Spofford's position, which is
Yes.
currently?
Yes, Ray Spofford, the first one. I'm sorry. Okay, Waterways and Trails.
There's some, I guess, a challenge with District 3 with Commissioner Stillwell's absence. We have a very capable and volunteer in the trenches in Mr. Ken Mahaffey, and that's the appointment, but it's not been finalized, and it's brought to my attention that this board can't meet and do its work until this is finalized. So I was going to ask council if Mr. Stillwell's phone call to you is significant in making this appointment happen. Can he do it by proxy?
Well, he can't vote by proxy.
Yes.
He could certainly provide, he could provide to this board, preferably in writing, a request that he would like to make, and that would be as part of the record at that point.
Okay, no need.
Okay.
Could we vote on it outside of this boardroom in a workshop setting on the particular item? I mean, to hurry it along, this committee wants to meet. They have work to do.
Well,
And this is,
can it be? Yes. I mean, it's not typically done. The board doesn't typically vote on items in workshops as policy. However, workshops are meetings of the board. They are advertised. Minutes are kept. So there can be action.
well, I'm asking for something that's not typical. Make no mistake about it.
Right.
But, this whole deal has been untypical, and I'm trying to get the work done. Commissioners.
Mr. Manning, could you reach out to Commissioner Stillwell and see who he'd like to recommend?
Sure.
And we can bring that up at our next workshop would be the 10th.
Today.
No,
I
that's
had
our
mine.
Oh, today?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, we've been
Okay,
wrestling
no.
with this for a month.
Would you reach out to him today if you could?
I will. I will
Okay?
make an
And
attempt.
if we can get it accomplished today at the transportation workshop, then we can do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Zoning Board of Adjustments. Okay, so we have Bo Brewer and Joe Roberts as people who are appointed. The chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept.
We have a proper motion by Commissioner Goddard,
I'll second it.
proper second by Commissioner Pickens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Stacy Papel, any comments?
I have 2 things.
Okay.
First, the proposed joint committee meeting with St. Johns County. There have been two dates that have been proposed, May 24th or May 30th.
Yeah, I sent an email concerning that. That was going to be one of my items, but that's okay. I'm glad. This is where they want us to come to them, and I've asked them if we could meet at a closer location by email, maybe somewhere in Hastings, is what I had sent back to them. Why don't we wait on that one just a little bit and see if that email comes back that we could possibly, I don't mind going all the way to the beach side, but if we could try to do what Marion County has done for us and meet in the middle, that might be more beneficial.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioners,
can I
how do
make
you
a
feel about that?
suggestion there?
Yes, sir.
Town of Hastings City Hall has a auditorium room
Okay.
for the old schoolhouse, and it would be a fine place.
Yeah,
The only
I-
other option would be a potato field. I'll leave it up to you.
I don't mind sitting in a potato field. I'm fine with that. Or
But they-
cabbage.
If you call the town clerk, Pam, she will accommodate you.
I'll send you the email I sent to Mr. Leary, and we'll go from there.
Okay, the other thing I have is, what would you like staff to bring to the April 10th workshop? Do you want some ideas from HR regarding executive search? Do you want a
Yes.
couple of staff resumes and salary histories? What do you want?
I think everything's on the table, and we need some guidance right
Okay.
now, and Commissioner Pickens was right about that. So we need to be very deliberate in this item. So the more help that staff can bring to us, the better off we are.
Okay.
So that's what I'd like to see. Commissioner Pickens, that was kind of your,
Yeah, the more the better. We need guidance on this, because I don't know if y'all been through that process before, but I sure have not, so I want to make sure we do it right the first
I
time.
have.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, well, good.
all right. Is that the only two items you had?
That's it.
Okay, County Attorney?
Just briefly, I wanted to clear up a misconception that I've heard on the street from a number of individuals. There's been questions raised about going back to the last meeting and whether it is right for the chair to second a motion. And I just want to clear that up. I've searched every place I can think of to search in the county to see if it has ever adopted, formally adopted Robert's Rules of Procedure as its parliamentary procedure. I have not found that. Nobody has provided that to me, so I have to assume it has not ever been done. Therefore, it's very it's used. Robert's Rules has been used by this board and continues to be used by this board as a guide, as a general guide on how to proceed. I am going to be bringing some proposed parliamentary procedures to a workshop for you all to consider adopting, so this doesn't remain a question. With that said, even if the board had adopted Robert's Rules of Order in the past, a couple of things need to be clarified. For boards this size, a second isn't even required. All we need is a motion for an item to be discussed and voted on. There doesn't need to be a second. Of course, customarily, we do that. The whole reason for the second is to advise the chairman that more than one board member would like to discuss an item. Therefore, obviously, if the chairman wants to also discuss the item, it's perfectly appropriate for the chairman to make that second for discussion. And lastly, the chairman, and it happens to be you, Commissioner Harvey, right now, and it may be somebody else next year, but the chairman, whoever it happens to be, has every right to discuss and vote and make motion and second motions on any item coming before this board. Has all the same rights as everybody else. Now, with that said, from a parliamentary procedure standpoint, it is desired that the chairman have a show of some sort of impartiality to the extent you can do so in how the meeting is handled and moves forward. Therefore, it is good practice if the chairman wants to make a motion to hand the chair to the vice chairman in order to make that motion, and that would, the vice chairman would rule the meeting during the discussions until that item comes to completion, and then it would come back to the chair. I just wanted to get that on the record and make sure everybody was clear on that, because there is a lot of misinformation out there about that particular action.
Thank you. Yeah, I got pretty much hammered this week about that, but it was good to hear that. I don't quite understand the non-seconding, but we'll get to that another time, so, you know.
Excuse me, but with that being said, council, we do practice a modified version of Robert's rules, so if he chooses to use the second, he can do so, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Again, the whole reason for Robert's rules is to facilitate action, facilitate discussion by the board, to facilitate votes, not to stand in the way. And certainly having a second that facilitates that process, then it's certainly it's certainly not out of the ordinary or not allowed. And again,
it's just very customary.
It is.
Long tradition.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I would like to ask the chairman is I like to call for discussion after a second, if you choose to do so. I'm just asking for that. And often we don't recently, but I like that. Yeah.
That's not a problem. Thank you. All right.
If I can, I'll ask council to give your opinion. Here's where we would get stuck sometime when someone calls to question. What's the protocol after that? There's where you have a lot of differing opinions.
I know the answer to that one.
Well, sure.
When a board member, according to Robert's rules, when a board member calls the question, again, this is according to Robert's rules, that in and of itself is a motion to be voted on by the full board. And it requires a 2/3 vote in order to move that forward.
That's right. But you can't call the question to end the debate either.
That's right.
Not if that's the purpose.
Often it's misused like that.
Yeah, often it's used to stop a member from speaking, and you can't do that. So, but you'd have to vote on that. And that's why, back, almost 2 years ago, we brought this up. A year ago, we brought this up. We really have to have some type of footprint or guideline by which we go of. So thank you. Is that the end of your comments?
It is. Thank you.
Okay, Clerk of the Court, Mr. Tim Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question from Donna Wheeler in reference to the Value Adjustment Board. There was a suit that was filed against the Value Adjustment Board and the property appraiser on a particular piece of property. Her question was that she's not real sure whatever happened because the Value Adjustment Board had an attorney issue.
Right.
And we all know that. And but she just wanted to make sure that that the Value Adjustment Board was still moving forward with either seeking to remove themselves from the suit, which is I think what the Value Adjustment Board voted to do, and that it wasn't just out there left alone. So. And I don't have an answer for that because we're only clerk to the board.
I have an answer.
Okay, thank you.
I hate to say it's kind of been dumped in my lap, and it's kind of one of these, everybody's going.
Right.
I mean, and there's no statutorial other position but us. It's a board function. So currently, at the last meeting, the Value Adjustment Board looked at entertaining Mr. Castleberry for representation on the Value Adjustment Board. He could not do that, although he did file a letter on our behalf basically asking us to be removed from the suit. In the meantime, I went back to the attorney that we had hired out of Orange Park, and his name escapes me right now, but I do have an email supporting that document, and I believe I've sent it to you too. Basically, he has decided he will stay on as our attorney. He will represent us if that time comes, and he has also filed a letter to remove us from that. So from that questioning, because they both felt like the Value Adjustment Board had no standing in that lawsuit.
Yes, and our only point of asking the question was just to make sure that someone was still watching this.
This is,
and that a time frame didn't elapse that then didn't allow you to be
And-
removed from the case.
No, they're
Thank you.
both on it, and Mr. Castleberry, our first choice, could not do it by other reasons, so we had to revert back to Plan B, which was the gentleman who represented us. Probably the next Value Adjustment Board will decide where to seek counsel at that point.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner comments. Stacy, you might not know this, Ms. Papel. City of Palaca would like to meet with us on April 10th, Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Is that a good time to have a meeting with the City of Palaca's council people? Please let us know.
What time?
6 o'clock in the evening on a Wednesday. I know it's a Wednesday night, but Alachua County, so check your schedules, and would you let Ms. Papel know if that's good for you, and we could have a joint meeting with them. I do want to remind everybody, Alachua County joint meeting 4/17 here at 6 o'clock. They're coming to us. Marion County 4/24. We're going to be meeting at the VFW in Salt Springs at 2 o'clock. And like we talked about, the St. Johns County, we're going to see if we can't get closer to Hastings and the Hastings areas, as Commissioner Lible pointed out. And while I'm in my commission comments, I do want to say a big thank you to the Gula Geechee people who put on a tremendous bike ride in Putnam County, everybody who was involved in that. I had an opportunity to go out to Federal Point. Commissioner Goddard was there also on last Friday. And the people that talked to us about the beauty of Putnam County, talked to me especially, and even talked to me about, I would love to move here, was just really incredible. And Rhonda, you and your staff out there at the church did a remarkable job in hosting that for that group of people. They had never been to such a beautiful spot there on the river, the food, the entertainment. We had Buffalo Mum was playing music, and it was just a really festive time. And people were really not looking forward to getting back in their car, strapping their bikes on. Now, these bikes didn't weigh as much as your shoe weighs, to their car and headed back to Maryland or Missouri. So they were really kind of bummed out that they had to leave Putnam County and St. Johns County. But I wanted to publicly thank you for all the hard work y'all did. Commissioner Lible, comment.
I'd just like to be the first to wish Cynthia and Rick Leary health and happiness in their retirement, and to thank him for the many years of everything you heard today. What a professional. I slept well for 10 years as a commissioner knowing that man had my back. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Goddard?
I just want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for being concerned.
Commissioner Pickens?
I'd like to reiterate what Chip said, to just thank Rick Leary for his service. Unfortunately, I was only able to work with him for the last 3 months, but what I found was for Rick to be very accommodating. I could call him at a short notice to meet with me about any topic. I'd met with him for up to an hour the day before each county commission meeting. He always had time, knowledgeable. He had a fantastic memory, just incredible, and just a wealth of knowledge. I honestly believe, I really don't like the way this went down. I am disappointed. I actually feel as a commissioner that at this time, in our county, with the upcoming budget, that this couldn't happen at a worse time. We need his expertise. we'll get through it, and we'll move forward. And I hope that in our workshop, we can decide on everything from salaries to how we're going to solicit, applications for a new county commissioner and move this county forward. On a lighter note, I would like to invite everybody to the 38th Annual Catfish Festival in Crescent City. The festival kicks off at 5 o'clock on Friday evening with a gospel sing, and the South Putnam Church Praise Band is teaming with the Dunn's Creek Baptist Praise Band, and it will be an excellent gospel show, and then all the activities on Saturday starting at 9 o'clock. Also, anybody that is interested in joining me cutting swamp cabbage, you can contact me after this meeting, because we're going to go cut about 500 cabbage trees down tomorrow for the festival. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I knew you were going to get that plug in there
Have to.
for the public to do that. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, is there any other business to come before this committee, this council? Seeing none, our meeting will stand adjourned. Thank you.